you very much, Mr. Billa and Alok. I don't know how many of you know this, but Alok and Ixigo were the first online travel aggregators to suspend bookings on, to Turkey, Azerbaijan, and China at the height of the India-Pakistan escalation. And, I'm sure that was a very tough business call to take, considering they are a listed company in India. But I think it was very close to Alok's heart. Alok, maybe you can tell us a little about that before we move on to the session.
Yeah, so I think, when we saw what was happening and we saw the fact that, there was a very strong sentiment in our country because we serve Bharat and we have a lot of users all over. Like in FY25, we had like almost 500 million annual active users, and the amount of sentiments that was starting to show about certain countries and travel to those countries. And 10th May morning, we took this decision that, we're going to stop selling or suspend bookings for, these countries, because I think that we felt like it was the right thing to do. I don't think we thought too much around the business impact or anything like that. It was just the right thing to do as an Indian. And I think if you think about the fact that in good times, we think that business as usual is what, but good times is when we need to think twice about, where our money is going and, what causes is it supporting, because it's only in bad times that we wake up and realize these things. So I think, it was a decision taken to respect the sentiments of millions of people out there, our users, and also for their safety, right? I think I wouldn't feel very safe traveling to some countries who, have supported, our enemy states.
A round of applause for that, because it takes a lot of courage to go ahead and do that. And I think after Ixigo announced it, a couple of your peers also said they will follow through. But Mr. Billa, since we are talking about India's soft power, travel, tech, and AI, it's also a sector that is vulnerable to geopolitics, to the overall perception about a certain country and a region. So can you take us through what, has unfolded in the last 2 weeks? What has changed? What has not changed? Whether it's inbound travel, outbound travel, domestic travel, international travel.
So I think, there is no doubt that the past couple of weeks would impact the tourism sector. But I think looking at where India is, we're in a good place. And the reason why I say that is because we have a very strong domestic demand. For a country, say like Maldives, 90% of their tourism sector depends upon the inbound travel. For us, it's the reverse. We have 250 crore people traveling domestically within the country, but we have about 1.8 crore people who are actually coming into the country. So there will be, some impact, but I think it's going to be marginal, and I don't think the economy is really going to sort of feel it. So my sense is that India is fundamentally strong. I don't think there are any basic questions about the security in the country. So it'll probably take a few months. But my sense is that by November, we'll be back. Even for inbound, we will come back roaring. And I think in the meantime, we have a very strong summer season, which is essentially the domestic season, so that will play out. So I don't see much of a concern on how this is going to play out. I think we're very strong. Compared to several other countries around the world, I think we are very strong, we're very resilient, and there is no reason for us to worry about if that's going to really impact livelihoods within the tourism sector.
Right. Alok?
Yeah, just to add to Sir's point, I think we are extremely resilient as a country. I can tell you that, at least for us, our domestic bookings are back at above, at levels which are similar to what existed before the conflict, right? In some cases above, right? So in that case, I don't think there is a safety or threat perception at this point that people are feeling, not just for domestic, but even for international. But the inbound part, like Sir said, could be where the impact and the perception, etc., might take some time to settle down. I think the longer term impact that I'm worried about is when we saw the Pahalgam incident happen, at that time, Kashmir was at all time, like we've never seen that kind of demand for J&K. The summer was just about to start. First half of April, we saw 70% year-on-year growth, at least on our platform for Srinagar, Jammu, etc. Right? So I think we were about to hit an all-time high, across the region there, but it just, like this has been derailed now. It might take some time to come back. So that's the part which is going to take a while.
So has the demand shifted elsewhere in India, or has that sort of completely disappeared? The tourists who were heading to, say, a Gulmarg, a Pahalgam,
we saw a lot of cancellations, even like people who had tickets for June, etc. Right? I mean, obviously a lot of people will wait and watch and will want to plan a vacation elsewhere. But like you said, yes, they have been substituted with bookings to other places. And I think international, outbound is something that we have not seen as much impact as what we thought there would be, but because people haven't really changed those plans much. Domestic people traveling, even to some places near J&K, I mean, I would say northern states, there was some slight impact, but as we speak, all of the domestic impact X of J&K,
so
we've gone
to Amritsar and all. It's
back to the pre-conflict levels.
Right. Mr. Billa, in the last week, we've also seen calls for Indians to not, travel to countries like Turkey and Azerbaijan. And, Ixigo had banned Turkey, Azerbaijan, China on their platform. Others also followed suit. Is this going to be a part of a broader trend? Because last year we had seen a lot of Indian tourists go to Baku in Azerbaijan. It became, one of the hottest travel destinations, and a lot of people planning trips to Istanbul and Cappadocia and so on. What is the government's view on this?
No, I think the government's view is very clear. It is not the business of the government to tell the public or the businesses where to send people and where not to send people. But what we are seeing today is there is a public sentiment which is very widespread. And that is resulting in, there are concerns, and that is getting reflected in the way that, several of our industry partners and colleagues in the business are seeing. There is a steep drop in demand. And they're saying the drop in demand is anywhere between 95 to 100% on several of them. So that's a popular sentiment. It's not for the government, to sort of say don't travel or not to travel. All things being equal, there are international frameworks within which businesses are conducted and people travel. But what we are seeing today is that there is public sentiment against traveling to certain things, and since they feel so strongly, that is also getting reflected in the way the businesses are. It's not that the businesses are, of course, he has done an exceptional, sort of thing by taking a proactive position. But typically, even for those who haven't, there are just no bookings forthcoming. So if we have several flights which are flying between both the geographies, if there is no demand, eventually that is going to sort of taper down too. So I guess that the sentiment will get sort of probably shifted a little bit when there is a little bit more improvement in relationships and people think that it's probably a good time to, get back to what it used to be like before.
Right. Alok, you want to add to that? Have you also seen, anecdotally, we've done stories that, there have been cancellations to these regions?
So there have been cancellations. In our case, like we said, we just suspended the bookings. I think almost every travel company has made one announcement or the other. In our case, we were very clear it was a very binary decision. We suspended the bookings. It's not an advisory. It's not a pop-up. It's a full suspension, right? And until geopolitical equations change or, there's any kind of, rapprochement that happens, I think, we're likely to stick to this stance.
Right. Mr. Billa, talking about, India's overall potential when it comes to tourism, the promise is always there in terms of the rich diversity we have to offer. But where are we in terms of creating the supply for this? Because increasingly, at least the premium travelers who would have gone, to a Goa are now going to Sri Lanka, Vietnam and Bangkok because they think that is more economical than any, Indian tourist destination. At least Goa, there was a lot of anecdotal evidence on this. Where do you think the fault lies? Are we too expensive? Have some of these people inflated prices too heavily? How can we sort of improve India's potential, take back some of that share that's, going to Vietnam and Thailand and Hong Kong and Sri Lanka and so on? What else do we need to do in terms of creating better infra, better hotels, better capacity, better pricing?
So I think it's a macroeconomic issue. And if we frame it, over the past 10 years, India has been the fastest growing large economy in the world. Now, what it has done is it has put a lot of money in the pockets of people, and aspirations are there. So people who traditionally did not travel on holidays earlier are now traveling, especially the middle classes have started traveling like never before. So unfortunately, I think while demand has skyrocketed, I think supply has not kept pace. And the reasons can be many, but I think there are broadly three things that we need to do. First, I think we need to, as a government, we need to start taking entrepreneurial position on tourism, because it has the ability to become an engine for economic growth for your state
And for jobs,
the government of India. Second, as you said rightly, is it has the highest potential to create jobs in the country. Today, it supports 78 million jobs. I think if we work hard in the next 5 years, we can generate another 25 million jobs. And today, the contribution of tourism sector to the GDP is about 5%. And I think realistically, we should have the ambition to double it in the next 10 years. So if we have to do all of this, I think supply side has to really grow, which means that, one, we have to look at the capital structure. Because today, several times when the hoteliers, when they want to build a hotel and go to the bank, they're clubbed in the real estate segment, which means that a repayment period of 8 years and a higher interest rate, which does not justify the investment. So in the current budget, we have said 50 destinations will be targeted for plant development, and we have said in all of these places, investments into the hospitality sector will straight away qualify under the infrastructure segment, which means I get to payback period goes up to 15%, and then I'm also able to get the loan at about 3% lower than what I would have normally got. The second thing is that states need to take a position of proactive position to take investors past the tipping point, which means that how do I ensure that all the clearances are given on a timely basis. If you look at some countries like Indonesia, Singapore, there are about 30 licenses that are taken there. Here we need about 60 licenses, and each of them takes 56 days. So there's a great case for us to see as to how to rationalize that and ensure predictability for them. The second thing is states also should come on board and make land available. They need to sort of look at what are the incentives and subsidies that you're willing to give to investors to come and make that investment. Because tourism not only creates jobs, as you said, but is also an enabler for other businesses to happen. I cannot be a great industrial hub if I do not have high quality hotels in the vicinity where I expect visitors to come and investors to come and stay. But the good thing is that that narrative is changing. And I'm sure in the next 5 years, we will be in a very different place than where we are. So if we are able to increase the demand, then then the prices will automatically cool down, and this attraction of going abroad will also sort of square off. But I get the point that every dollar saved is a dollar earned. So we should try to consciously retain as many travelers as we can within the country, because it helps us retain our own foreign exchange. And if we can create jobs here and if we can kickstart our economies, that's perhaps the best thing that we should do.
Right. Alok, anything else that you'd like to add here in terms of what else can be done from an infra point of view, policy point of view? What are the bottlenecks that's holding us back?
I think, two things have happened post-COVID. One is that there is a clear premiumization of demand, right? We published some stats yesterday along with our earnings, and essentially, if you look at the average spend that a traveler has when he travels to a destination, I think there's a clear upward movement there, which is at way higher than the inflation rate, which means that people are expanding the share of wallet they're spending when they travel. And if you go more premium, which means the moment you look at 4 or 5 star, you see that trend clearly playing out in terms of utilizations, in terms of the fact that hotels will get sold out or they'll get outpriced. So in destinations like Goa, we saw in the last peak season, there was a huge hue and cry about the rates at which the hotels were going. And I think what is needed is not just the investment to create, more properties, but also more experiences. Like, if you go to a Singapore or a Dubai, and you want to do let's say, you have a day to spend there, and you will have, like, you'll be spoilt for choice. You'll have like 200 things out there that you could literally look into. And if I go to some of these apps which sell these experiences and activities, and I look up a Mumbai or a Goa, it's surprising that there is no world-class adventure park, theme park, water park in Goa today. Like, and that's our top tourist destination, right? So the amount of investment we need to create adjacent experiences, I think that's non-trivial, but that's the next leg of opportunity. So it's beyond just hotels. I think you will start seeing
packages,
you will start seeing
experiences,
experiences, activities, theme parks, adventure parks. That's the next leg of growth for us, because then somebody who's going to Goa is not just going for beaches anymore. There might be 3 other things that have come up which make it even more attractive. And the second part, this was the first part. Now the second part is we have to pay more attention to the next billion users. So the part of Goa which is not affected in terms of this demand constraint is if you look at the budget side, right?
Yeah.
And there is a very large set of people from tier 2, 3 towns who have never been to Goa yet. And they're going for the first time in their lives, and they're sitting on a train or a bus to get there, many of them using our apps. And we've figured out that, look, the kind of experience they want, the kind of package they want, or the kind of holiday they want, again, we have to build more understanding and empathy for that. And, we can't just be obsessed about the top 10%.
Yeah.
If we want to expand tourism, we have to, look at Mahakumbh is a great example, right? Like, anyone and everyone wanted to be there because there was something in it for everyone, right? It's a spiritual experience that, I'm sure people want to, sort of create that memory for their lifetime, right? And we have to think of what are those experiences and vectors which can drive the next leg of growth. Spiritual is going to be one strong one. We already saw it with Varanasi, Ayodhya, then with Mahakumbh. And the next one I also feel is senior citizen tourism, right? So a lot of people in our country who are getting retired, they have money, we are living longer, the healthcare system is improving. What are we doing to make our destinations more accessible for them, more amenable for them? Are we creating packages which are more friendly for them? I think we'll have to start thinking of that, because that's a huge opportunity if you ask me.
Interesting points. One on spiritual tourism and one on senior citizen tourism. So you want to add to that in terms of what we can do to, and also improving the modes of transport, making all these places accessible, not just flight, but trains, buses. As Alok said, buses are also a huge push area.
So I think, just to pick the thread, I think on the big infrastructure, we've done exceptionally well. The airports in India are amongst the best in the world now, and the quality of our aircraft far surpass those in several other places. These Vande Bharat trains over the past, 7 years, 5 to 7 years, they are great enablers. It's clean, it's quick, it's fast, it connects you point to point. For tourism, it's a great enabler. And even on the road transport, we have fantastic national highways now. We have achieved the critical mass today, and there are, good transportation options which are available. I think where we probably are, so I think the peaks are all there. If you look at all this infrastructure, our hotels are world class. I think where we are probably facing the dips is the experience at the destination.
Yeah.
Because, when you go to, so 2 things. One is that our attractions are world class, but our tourist experience is not commensurate with the potential of the place. Suppose, you go to Hampi or, Khajuraho or something. There is no doubt that the attraction is fantastic, but people need shaded areas. People need, fine dine options. There should be that ecosystem of entertainment, things which are there, which extends their stay there. Otherwise, I go to a monument, I finish the Taj Mahal in 3 hours, and then what do I do next? And so we need to create, as Alok said, these compelling experiences for people to stay back. It's not the number of people I bring into the destination, it's how long I retain them. If I get a day tripper, that is, counts as one, but if I'm able to retain them for 2 nights there, then I'm actually having 3x more the impact that I'm able to, sort of generate. So I think we need to create deeper experiences
around
the destination.
Attractions.
Exactly. When a person goes to a place, he's seen it, but you're also know that you have some time, and what else is it that I can do? And everybody else around the world has figured it out, but I think that will happen, and we will build it.
So will that come from the center, from the states, them working together? How is this going to work?
I think this experience building
And will the private sector play a big
Correct.
role?
So I think this experience and product building is essentially a function of the private sector. And I think what the government should do, both the center and the state, should create a framework to support them and to encourage them. Like even putting some sort of, some countries put a grant on creating new products and experiences, something like a, initial support. So I think we should get into that framework, and it's already happening. If you look at several destinations today, there are many more walks and many more experiences.
Heritage walks and all that.
Yeah.
As we wrap, Alok, also talk to us about tech and AI, what role it can play. Because even at your scale today, Ixigo essentially has 500 employees who are working on everything from airline booking to train booking to bus booking across your different platforms. What role will AI increasingly play in travel, in the analytics behind travel? Sure. How are you leveraging it?
Yeah, and that's where it goes beyond just the booking, right? So I think we consider our role as right from the planning stage to the researching stage to the booking stage to post-booking, where you are in the trip and you have lots of things that can go wrong. You could have a train that's delayed or a flight gate, boarding gate that's changed. So I think the hand-holding is becoming a lot more preemptive and a lot more, I think, data and AI-led. So if you use any of our apps, I'm sure you would have seen that there is a lot of intelligence that we've built over time there, and that's something we'll have to now double down on with voice. So one of the things we're doing right now, for example, is, and we already had an AI chatbot many years ago, which now does 91% of our customer support end-to-end is done by Tara, our AI chatbot. But on voice, we've launched this voice agent, which now does voice-to-voice call. Hard to tell the difference between a human and a AI agent. We just disclosed that 45% of our flight customer support voice calls are already being handled by AI, and it's being done in multiple languages. So the beauty of this is that actually it's going to expand the envelope to the extent where even regional language customer support, regional language hand-holding, imagine you land in a destination and you want to ask something, it can be done in your local language. If you're coming from a place, let's say you want to talk in Bhojpuri, you can actually get support in Bhojpuri, right? That's where the future is headed. And I think we have to think of it, the problem statement like that, because the next leg, the next envelope of growth is not going to come from tier 1 towns, the way we look at it, right? The next envelope of growth is coming from the demand coming from tier 2, 3 towns. And even for tier 1, it's going to be more of the middle class, aspiring middle class user who will drive travel demand, right? So now the needs there are very, I think they're very different in both in terms of the supply side and in terms of the support side, right? So as companies, we are investing in AI to do both of these things in a much more automated fashion. And of course, internally we've started adopting it. I mean, the reason why we are able to do the scale of business we do with just 509 people is because most areas we've already started leveraging AI to our advantage, right? So I think you're going to see, this is the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see a lot more happen in the next year or two, especially with voice and AI.
Right. As we wrap up, a quick rapid fire for the two of you. Your last holiday, which place?
Munnar, Kerala.
Alok?
It's been a while. I'm actually going to Greece and France this summer.
After talking about domestic
the last one, yeah. Domestic was Mahakumbh actually. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite mode of travel? Air, train, or bus?
Air is always more convenient, saves time.
Alok?
It depends on where I'm going. Honestly, when I go back to my hometown, I'm from Lucknow, so sometimes I prefer a train. It's just more convenient. But recently I traveled in a bus and the experience blew me like away, because the perception we all have of bus travel, which was shaped in our childhood, versus the reality that exists today with the quality of assets, the quality of roads, the EV buses coming in. I mean, I encourage all of you to actually try to take your next trip on a bus, and you will be positively surprised by what you get there.
Right. Last question. What's on your bucket list in terms of travel? One destination that you want to go to?
I want to go back to Kashmir soonest.
All of us do. Alok?
Actually, I have not been to Kashmir yet either, so I might accompany you, sir.
On that note, thank you very much, Mr. Billa and Alok, for a wonderful session. Thank you. A huge round of applause.